Good morning and welcome. Glad you've got your coffee, and I'm glad you've said hellos to those around you and those at the back. That's a great thing that we do in community. Welcome to you in person. Welcome to those of you joining us online this morning. Welcome to SSUC. We're a beautiful mix today of spiritual seekers, and we're here united in and by community. Welcome to this gathering. If you are trying to find a group of people seeking to live inclusively, wanting to focus on what it means to be our best selves, welcome. We're individually and together helping each other live deeply, express compassion and care, work for justice, and simply make a difference in our own lives and in the world. Welcome to a place to be who you are and who you're becoming, and just as you are today. No guilt, no requirement to be this or that or the other, but part of a community building a safer place for all people, all sizes, all ages, all colors, all genders, all cultures, all sexualities, all abilities, all religions, many or none. Welcome. We're going to light our candle today, and maybe Sherry Ann will help me light all the candles so that we can grow the light among us. Thank you, Sherry Ann. While she's doing that, I'll just talk a little more. Oh, you have to press down on that. Here, I'll do the first one. And then I'll do that one. This light that we light on our community candle each week reminds us of many things. It reminds us that there isn't one way to be light. There are many. We are all unique expressions of one humanity, one earth, one community. And as we gather, this time and every time, we affirm that it isn't our beliefs or our ideologies that define us. It isn't a teaching about the right way or the wrong way to be who you are or to live in the world. It isn't about conforming to a set of dogma or traditions. What defines us is our willingness to be community with one another, in our similarities and in our differences. So may we recognize always our importance to light the corner of our lives, to let our light shine for ourselves and for others. May we all embrace our value, our place in the circle, our love we have to share and receive. And may the reminder of this light help us always to live and work and be people in the world with meaning and purpose. Let's sing our way into community this morning as well, as we build the community that we build with each other every time we gather and every time we do the work of togetherness.
Let us build a house where love can dwell, and all can Good morning. We gather with gratitude for this place in which the sun rises this day. We gather in this place and with which Indigenous peoples have lived for thousands of years, first learning local wisdoms with an eye for the many generations yet to come. We gather with humility and intention to join a path of reconciliation and partnership as Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. We gather with words that have been reintroduced after many years of oppression. As you might know, on May 11th, 2023, with leadership from Nehéawin and the River Valley Alliance, and with guidance from elders and knowledge keepers, including Plains Cree elder Jerry Saddleback. An old name was chosen for the present and future use of the 100-kilometer River Valley Trail through the North Saskatchewan River Valley. That name is Amiskwochu Miskino. It means Beaver Hill Road in Cree. And so today, here in this part of Treaty 6 lands, and wherever you are greeting this new day, may this shared time be an opportunity for being fully present as we consider a shared journey on this road and the shared paths of transition.
Our time for all ages is now, and we have a few. We have one little one and some parents, but as we all know, the time for all ages is for all ages. Do you know how many of us share with each other that this is often the best part of the morning? So come forward or stay where you are, but this time, regardless of where you're sitting in the room, is for you. You brought your bear. Excellent. I brought a story. It's called Who Do I Want to Become? And it's written by Rumit Bilan, a Canadian author, and her friend who illustrated it, Michelle Clement. Mr. Jansen, my teacher, reminded us that our project was due the next day. He asked us, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I'd thought about it all week, but I still didn't know. Dad picked me up from school, and on the drive home, I asked him what he had wanted to be when he was my age. Well, I wanted to be an astronaut because I was curious about other planets. I wanted to travel in a big spaceship so I could visit those places, he said. Wow, that's so cool, Dad. Are you going to become an astronaut? Can we travel to the moon together? Not anytime soon, son, but maybe one day. Have you thought about what you want to be? He replied. I'm not sure, but I need to know tomorrow for my class project. You know, you can be anything you want to be, he said. There are so many possibilities. Thanks, Dad, but I'm still confused. That's a common phrase. Thanks, Dad, but, yeah. I'm sure you'll come up with something. At home, I found my sister Angela and her friend Zoe on the porch working on an experiment. I decided to ask them if they could help me. I want you to just notice what the puppy dog is doing in every page because it's always something very interesting. Do you see the puppy dog? Make it quick, Dylan. We have to finish our assignment for chemistry, Angela said. Tomorrow I'm supposed to share with the class what I want to be when I grow up, but I don't really know. When I was your age, I already knew that I wanted to be a scientist, just like Mom. I'm going to be a photographer. I love taking pictures, Zoe said excitedly. I think maybe the doggie's posing for the picture in this. But how do you know that's what you love to do, I asked. You just know, Zoe replied. Don't worry, you'll figure it out. I felt even more confused. Inside, my cousin Jamie was in the kitchen making a snack. Sophie, my younger sister, was playing with her toys in the living room. Jamie, do you know what you want to be when you grow up, I asked. Yep. When I'm older, I'm going to be an award-winning robot trainer during the week and a smoothie tester on the weekend, Jamie began. Or maybe a nurse practitioner and a web designer. Or, Sophie started jumping on the couch and yelled, I'm going to be a superhero or a bird so I can fly. I went to my room. I felt stuck. Was something wrong with me because I didn't know? Mom came home from work and found me lying on the floor. Dylan, is everything okay? You don't seem like yourself. I'm not, Mom. I'm not anything. And I'm not going to be anything when I grow up. What do you mean, she asked. Look, the doggie's doing just like him. Dad wants to be an astronaut. Angela's going to be a scientist, just like you. Jamie's going to train robots, test smoothies, become a nurse and a web designer. Sophie even knows what she wants to be, and she's only 3. Everyone knows what they want to be, everyone but me. Oh, it's frustrating not knowing exactly what you want to be, isn't it? Asked Mom. What if I told you that I still don't know what I want to be? But you're a grown-up and you have a job. That's right, but... And you take care of everything and always have the answers to everything, I went on. You're always nice and you're not afraid of anything and you're my mom. Mom smiled and said, I hope I am all those things because that's exactly who I've always wanted to be. But that's who you already are. Oh. And then I smiled, just as I had an idea. That's it. I've got it. Mom, I know what I'm going to share with the class tomorrow. I had a feeling you would figure it out. The next day, I ran to my classroom and found my teacher. Mr. Jansen, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. That's all right, Dylan. I think there are a few others who aren't quite sure. But wait! I might not know what I want to be when I grow up, but I do know who I want to become. I want to be someone who tries new things and isn't afraid to fail. I want to be someone who helps others and makes a difference in the world. Someone who isn't afraid to be me. That's who I will be. Oh, that's wonderful, Dylan. And it looks like Dylan put up a poster in the classroom. It says, Dylan's Help the World Club, Mondays after school. So I presented my project to the class. I shared that it's who you are that matters the most, and that who I want to be is already inside of me. So look, Mr. Jansen's changed the board. He said, not what do you want to be when you grow up. He changed it to who do you want to be when you grow up. That's the end. Who do I want to become? Well, thank you for sharing that story with me today. And we are all asking the same question. Who do we want to be when we grow up? We'll figure it out. All right. Kid Spirit's there, and whether Kid Spirit is happening or whether it's here in this room, we're welcome to continue.
Here is an excerpt from chapter 1 of Parker Palmer's book, Let Your Life Speak. In my early 30s, I ran across the old Quaker saying, "Let your life speak." I found those words encouraging, and I thought I understood what they meant. Let the highest truths and values guide you. Live up to those demanding standards in everything you do. Because I had heroes at the time who seemed to be doing exactly that, this exhortation had incarnate meaning for me. It meant living a life like that of Martin Luther King Jr. or Rosa Parks or Mahatma Gandhi or Dorothy Day, a life of high purpose. So I lined up the loftiest ideals I could find and set out to achieve them. The results were rarely admirable, often laughable, and sometimes grotesque. But always they were unreal, a distortion of my true self, as must be the case when one lives from the outside in, not the inside out. I had simply found a noble way to live a life that was not my own, a life spent imitating heroes instead of listening to my heart. Today, some 30 years later, let your life speak means something else to me. A meaning faithful both to the ambiguity of those words and to the complexity of my own experience. Before you tell your life what you intend to do with it, listen for what it intends to do with you. Before you tell your life what truths and values you have decided to live up to, let your life tell you what truths you embody, what values you represent. This insight wakes me to the questions of vocation. Hidden in the word vocation itself is the Latin root word for voice. Vocation does not mean a goal that I pursue. It means a calling that I hear. Before I can tell my life what I want to do with it, I must listen to my life telling me who I am. I must listen for the truths and values at the heart of my own identity, not the standards by which I must live, but the standards by which I cannot help but live if I am living my own life. These are words from a contemporary writer, educator, and activist. May we find wisdom for our living.
We've been exploring life's transitions through this series the last few weeks, and today we encounter one of those transitions, like some of the ones that we've talked about, that never really have a specific beginning point or ending point. It's a transition that perhaps is a constant in our lives. These are the transitions we all experience as we move into the work world, and then as we grow to consider the difference between simply having a job versus having meaningful work. As we throughout our lives consider the difference between having a career and a calling, and discerning what this word vocation just might mean. And we'll get to the place where we recognize that this has everything to do with the work of our lives, in other words, what we're paid to do, but has a lot more to do with the work, capital letters, work of our lives, regardless of what we do for a living. When I was considering training for the work of ministry, this word calling was used a whole lot. For those in the traditional Christian world, that word meant one thing. It meant, in church speak, what was God, capital letters, calling you to do. I wasn't raised in that vocabulary, so my answers to that question were a bit, I wasn't raised in that vocabulary or worldview. It was confusing and a bit of a stressful question for me, wondering just what assumptions were baked into that question in the first place. And the stress came from what expectations people had for whatever answers I would give. A little like, if I might say, a child hearing, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I wasn't a person who equated the discernment of my gifts and skills, the work I wanted to do, with an external deity who had a plan for my life. That was not my understanding of the spiritual world, nor is it still. It's not my understanding and working basis of the world of spirituality, ethics, and values, which I would say are internal, based on self-knowledge and understanding and discernment within relationship and within community. If you want my definition of spirituality, there it is. We have to play it back. When I speak of calling, it's in this sense, this internal self-knowledge, understanding, wisdom of discernment. It's in this sense of discovering where my experiences, my talent, my passions coalesce with work that suits me, work that brings meaning to my life, work that helps me contribute in ways that I can make a difference. Work that, because it flows from all these things and from the affirmations of those around me, doesn't seem like work at all. As Parker Palmer and the Quakers put it, where are the best places for my life to speak? So this idea of vocation isn't just about paid work or careers, like I mentioned. Think of work in the broadest sense. The work of our lives, our life's work. Think, rather than what is your occupation, think of what occupies my days. Think of the things we do with our time, our energy, our intellect, our capacity, our creativity. So regardless of our jobs, we each have vocations. Now, some of us, perhaps many of us, are fortunate enough that the two can go together, and whenever you experience that, you know that that's an amazing and wonderful thing. But that's not the truth for everyone, in which case, it's not that we don't have vocations, it's not that we don't have callings, it's that we are exploring them apart from our paid work. Palmer writes near the beginning of his book on this subject that basing our life on positive values, I'm just going to put the title up again because if you haven't read this book, it's short, it's amazing. You can read it on a long weekend. Palmer writes near the beginning of this book that basing our life on positive values can't be about picking something admirable and imitating it. I was convicted by that sentence, actually, because, we often refer to the values that we hold as community, and we have them printed on our wall on this lovely banner. And I think, unless those are ours individually, then they're just words on a wall. Parker says, basing our life on values can't be about picking something admirable and imitating it, but rather listening to our lives to hear what truths we already embody, what values we represent. To me, he seems to be saying that what we do has everything to do with who we are. If our work and our time is spent on that definition of vocation, then we're not setting standards that we have to keep by sheer will. I will do this. I will fight my way into being this way and living with these values. No, we're not setting those standards that we have to keep by will. We're inviting values that our life is already living, that we can't help but live because they're part of who we are. So if what we do comes from who we are, and we're constantly learning about who we are, then our vocation must always be evolving. Some of it might stay the same through our whole lives, but others of it we're going to be discovering along the way. Even if we're done with our working career, we're still evolving and discovering our vocations. It's a question for any stage, in other words, not just for when we're young adults trying to figure out what career might lie ahead, but throughout life, when we need change in what we're doing with our days because suddenly we ask ourselves, why am I spending my time doing this? Those are crises of vocation, when who we are inside of us isn't matching what we're doing on the outside. I've heard many in this community and friends and people all around the place talking about what has changed for them since the pandemic. And it's really interesting because in those days, weeks, months, years of having a different relationship with our work or with our community, being home, spending time with ourselves, sometimes too much time, it placed us in a reevaluation phase. And I've heard from so many that in that phase, there was time to really listen to our lives, to what we wanted to be about, to kind of focus and say, when we're on the other side of this, I want to ... Even as simple as, things I want, groups I want to be a part of, or things I want to support, causes I want to be a part of, how we spend our time. We don't need a pandemic to reevaluate. We can do that any time, but it is important to recognize that many of us have gone through that time of evaluating. Or as we find ourselves in different circumstances, we go through this process too. Like new relationships, we meet someone new, we have new friendships or new connections, new family members join our family, retirements, new living arrangements. Every one of those changes brings about this question of what's important to me, how am I living out who I am? Our vocations come into a different focus. And those transitions are never easy. They are hard work, and we might be going through it acutely right now, or maybe that gradual sense of needing change or needing refocusing, or maybe just saying, I feel really great about who I am and how that's being reflected vocationally for me, and I want to strengthen that. Author and theologian Frederick Buechner defines vocation this way: the place where your deep gladness meets the world's deep need. The place where your deep gladness meets the world's deep need. This is where, if we're listening, our lives can speak. And I think it's easy to hear Frederick Buechner and think of it as this very lofty, high idealized kind of version of how we live out our lives, meeting the world's deep need. Well, sometimes doing that can be very complex, but sometimes it can be very simple. That we don't need to solve the world's problems or be a force in the world to allow our gladness to meet need. Sometimes it just means looking at the person nearest us and say, what's needed right now? So today's reflection is, like so much of our time together, more about questions than answers. So, in conclusion, more than enough questions for us to handle. How about that? When you listen to your life, what truths and values are you hearing? Not what you want to hear, but what is your life really saying to you is important. How have you felt when you've done work or spent time in areas that is not your vocation? And what impact does that have? Many of us have spent time, days, perhaps careers, doing things that have run contrary or at least adjacent to our vocations, and it has impacts on us. And it's important to recognize the feelings we have when we're spending our time in areas that are not our vocation. But on the flip side of that, what feeling do you get when you're doing work that unites who you are with the values that dwell within you? Because those are what we want to not only feel, but also replicate and do more of. Oh, just 3 more, it's okay. What fears hold you back from pursuing new variations of your vocation or a new vocation altogether? Don't answer now, please. Where does your deep gladness meet the world's need? And what is one thing you can do this week that connects who you are with what you do? What's a little bit of work you can do to either strengthen or move toward, or do a little piece of work that has great meaning and flows from who you are? No answers, just questions. So wherever we are on life's journey, the life transitions we make toward the real work of our hearts is always happening. It's always happening as a reflection of who we are and who we're becoming. So to put it another way, and to repeat the theme of the morning, let's always be working, always, regardless of age or stage, let's always be working on who we want to be when we grow up. A time for sharing some invitations and announcements of the community, and so I invite anyone who has something to say to make their way to the front. And while that's happening, I'll just say a few words about a couple of things. Your support of SSUC is, as always, an image of part of your vocation as well, in terms of reflecting who we are together and all the work that we are able to do together more than any of us could do apart. So thank you for all the ways that you support the work of this community. None of the funds that we take in come from any higher levels of the United Church of Canada. Whatever we fund as a community comes from you and me, and we work together to do that. And of course, the beautiful facility that we have here that can host groups and community members with the use of our building. So between those two things, that's how we fund our work. And so we're grateful for anything that you do that makes that possible. And there are lots of ways that you can contribute and donate to us, including purchasing grocery cards. You can donate in the box at the back or online through various means. But we support in ways that are not just with our wallets. We also support in ways that happen with our time and our energy. And so if you're feeling like putting your hand up today, we are in need of a few people in a few different areas to make the work of our hospitality on a Sunday morning possible. The coffee crew, so many of you grab a cup of coffee when you come in or afterward, and that just amazingly doesn't just flow out of the tap. It comes because a couple people each morning have come early and prepared that for us. We're welcomed at the welcome table with answers to our questions or just a warm hello. And also for those who have young children and we want to care for them as parents or grandparents can participate in what we do in this room. All of those things need a few extra people on the rosters. I hate to be alarmist about this, but there will be no coffee through the summer unless a few hands go up and names appear on the sheet in the foyer. So someone told me that that would be the motivation you needed if there was no coffee threatened. Oof. Anyway, thank you for all the ways you contribute to that. Just a quick note too about 2 summer camp opportunities for our kids this summer. Our own SSUC summer camp called Camp Explore will be happening this summer starting July 31st to August 4th. And there's registration available now on the website. Kids age 6 to 12, exploring nature and imaginations and science and all kinds of things that will have fun on those mornings. And then Camp Dragonfly is the camp that we sponsor for trans plus and gender creative children, ages 6 to 13. Such an important work in this city, filling a real need for the trans community and children who are questioning and wondering how they fit and where they belong. And this is a camp that doesn't focus on those issues, but it is a safe place for people that really struggle with those issues, not just themselves, but their siblings, their friends. And it's a safe place to be themselves and just have an ordinary summer camp where they don't have to worry. They can be safe. So amazing. Spread the word to friends, family, and that is 2 of the important works that we're doing this summer.
Good morning. I think microphone. Good morning. That worked. One of my new vocations, I think, after hearing the music just now, is to go back to Dover and see the bluebirds flying over those white cliffs. It's a beautiful spot. One of the things we're trying to do is to make it easier for you people to get to know each other again after we've had our time apart with COVID. So we got the Guess Who's Coming to Dessert program happening now. We have a number of openings still. It's in the last week of May after the election and before the 3rd or so of June. There's opportunities to come and join others on afternoons or evenings through that whole week. The opportunities are laid out on the table back there. If you haven't signed up and you're interested, come and sign up. We'll have a link, I guess you call it, on our website, so you can sign up through that as well. But there are sheets out there, and we welcome you to sign up. We're getting a fair number of people are going to be coming, so it's a good opportunity. Thank you.
When we have a time each gathering where we strengthen our intentions, it means we are uniting our voices or our hearts or our minds in ways that help us to tune into what we might focus on in the days and in the week ahead. It's a way for us to connect who we are with what we do. So let's strengthen our intentions to live more closely as we pray, as we share these words together. We embrace with gratitude the continual movement of life. Wherever we are on life's journey, we encounter times of searching and finding, of questioning and confidence, of hurt and healing. In all times, may we be open to the challenge and wonder that might nudge us toward transformation. Let's strengthen our intentions to embrace the small, incremental ways that we grow and become, delighting in all the pieces of life that make the whole. In the midst of all of life's transitions, may we find the grace to accept ourselves, affirm each other, and persist in our deepening journey. Let's help each other find the courage to befriend change and expend our energy on living our highest values. May it be so.
This be the day
Shall we change the light? And as that light changes into another form of energy, let us carry today's wisdom together as community into this new week.